1 month before the engagement with Zhou Jichuan, a girl who had been secretly in love with him for 3 years suddenly left a letter on his desk. "You're getting engaged, and my secret crush ends here." That day, both Zhou Jichuan and I saw strange subtitles floating in the air. How pitiful. My female lead sent out a 30-day countdown letter of her secret crush. It's so heartbreaking, woo-woo, in the most conspicuous spot. Yet he never noticed until the female lead left. That scumbag. It's okay, the real male lead will appear soon. The Zhou family is not far from bankruptcy. Zhou Jichuan and I only then realized that we were merely the vicious supporting female character and the male second lead destined to chase after his wife in a countdown story. Zhou Jichuan, however, held my hand, a heroine who only relies on others to slap faces. Perfect, we're saved. I arrived at Zhou Jichuan's office to wait for him for lunch, but I saw a slender figure lingering by his desk. Holding a thin envelope in hand, "Zhou Jichuan, are you really going to get engaged to Zhong Xingran? Since you're getting engaged, I suppose it's time for me to leave, but before that, I've decided to give myself 1 month." I recognized that voice. It was my half-sister, Zhong Qianqian. Her voice began to tremble with emotion. "I've had a crush on you for 3 years, but you never saw me. A month from now, you'll never find me again. This is my punishment for you." I stared at all of this in utter shock. What on earth is Zhong Qianqian trying to do? She rummaged left and right, and finally decided to place the letter in a drawer that Zhou Jichuan needed to open every day. Just as I was hesitating whether to go in or not, lines of text with special effects began to float around her. "Poor Qianqian baby, you finally let go of your obsession, woo-woo." It's so heartbreaking to see the female lead sending out a 30-day countdown letter for her unrequited love. It really tugs at the heartstrings, woo-woo. It was placed in the most conspicuous spot, yet he never noticed it even after the female lead left. What a scumbag. The bullet comments scrolling by expressed sympathy for Zhong Qianqian and condemnation for Zhou Jichuan. Then the discussion turned to me. It's all because of Zhong Xingran, that vicious female supporting character. If she hadn't taken the position of the second male lead's fiancé, Qianqian wouldn't have suffered through 3 years of unrequited love. It's okay, the true male lead will appear soon. The Zhou family is not far from bankruptcy. The heartbreak and despair felt from Zhou Jichuan will naturally be compensated for by someone else in the future. By the time I had almost finished reading the barrage of comments line by line, Zhou Jichuan hurried in from outside. "Why are you waiting alone outside the door? Next time, go in and wait for me. I'll have my assistant make you a cup of coffee." His voice startled Zhong Qianqian, who was inside, reluctant to leave. With reddened eyes, she ran out of Zhou Jichuan's office. She even shot Zhou Jichuan a deeply resentful glance, and those barrage comments followed right after. "So this is Zhou Jichuan. He looks decent enough on the outside. So why doesn't he know how to cherish our Qianqian?" Countdown to the female lead's departure, 30 days. Let him slowly taste the pain of life without her. You're just waiting to go bankrupt. As Zhong Qianqian ran off, those bullet comments slowly faded away. Zhou Jichuan slammed the office door shut and looked at me with a pitiful expression. I must be hallucinating from working overtime. Ran. I actually saw words floating above Zhong Qianqian's head. I always said there was something strange about her. Her interview performance was so poor back then, yet she still got hired into my company. Zhou Jichuan continued talking about Zhong Qianqian's oddities. Finally, he concluded, "Can't we just get rid of this troublemaker now instead of waiting 30 days? Just thinking about having to endure her inexplicable infatuation every day gives me goosebumps. I am speechless." I thought for a moment and told her the useful information I had gathered. Zhong Qianqian is the female protagonist in the novel and my half-sister. She had long been criticized for being an illegitimate child until she was taken back to the Zhong family 3 years ago. It was only after meeting Zhou Jichuan that she realized there could be such a ray of light in her life. So, a 3-year-long infatuation with Zhou Jichuan began. But we grew up together, and were practically engaged, Zhou Jichuan added. Zhong Qianqian, whose secret love bore no fruit, planned to leave 1 month before our wedding. He also prepared a countdown letter as a ritual for departure. Of course, for the sake of conflict, Zhou Jichuan didn't discover this letter until the very end. Zhou Jichuan was puzzled. What was even more dramatic was the ending. A secret admirer has appeared by Zhong Qianqian's side, said to have been pining for her for over a decade. Zhou Jichuan and I thus fell from heaven into the mire, on the day I jumped from the building. Zhong Qianqian successfully achieved her happy ending. Zhou Jichuan's brows were furrowed into a tight knot. Don't you think she's crazy? Everyone knows I have a fiancé, yet she still has a crush on me. I've never given her any response to her affection. Besides, what exactly is her so-called liking for me? Zhou Jichuan fell into a suspicious silence. It took him a long moment before he finally replied, according to those bullet comments. She comes to my office first thing every day to wipe the desk and even uses a special fragrance. No wonder I feel like sneezing every time I step into the office. My desk often ends up with half-cooked bean and rice bowls. Who said these beans are edible? They're really not up to par. Zhou Jichuan then asked me to think about Zhong Qianqian's behavior toward him. I also slightly furrowed my brow. It seems like every time she's in front of us, she's making a mess just to get attention. Now, every time I print contracts, I have to print 2 copies. Zhou Jichuan clasped his hands together. Back then, I didn't fire her because I was afraid of offending your dad. Now that she's left on her own, it's good, really good. I could sense the sheer delight in Zhou Jichuan's tone. Aren't you afraid her secret admirer might show up and bankrupt us? Though I say that, I still feel a bit worried. The appearance of this barrage comment is beyond my understanding. Zhou Jichuan pondered for a moment. Did the barrage say she later worked hard to defeat us on her own? I said, no, not really. Zhou Jichuan and I exchanged a knowing smile. She's the kind of female lead who only knows how to rely on others to slap faces. Perfect, we're saved. President Zhou, I've prepared a bento for you. You must not have had dinner yet, right? To avoid having our company suddenly collapse due to the male lead's appearance in the future. Zhou Jichuan and I both stayed behind to work overtime without prior agreement. I never expected Zhong Qianqian to barge in so familiarly at this moment. She skillfully arranged the dishes from the lunchbox on Zhou Jichuan's desk. Both Zhou Jichuan and I flinched hard. Green beans again. Is Zhong Qianqian a spy sent by the rival? At this moment, the barrage above Zhong Qianqian's head started scrolling frantically once more. So annoying. I don't want to see the villainess here. I just want to see the scumbag regret what he's done in the future. Cherish it while you can. At most, Qianqian will only make bento boxes for 30 days. If he doesn't eat it now, Zhou Jichuan will be begging and crying for Qianqian to make him a home-cooked meal later. It's almost time for the villainess to target Qianqian. I'm so scared she'll get hurt. Don't worry, the person above, the male lead, will appear soon. And then the two of them won't be far from sweeping the streets. The barrage comments made Zhong Qianqian's thoughts crystal clear. Zhou Jichuan did not touch those lunch boxes. Instead, he frowned. I'm working right now. Please take them away. If we need to eat, Ran and I can make our own reservations. Hearing my name from Zhou Jichuan's mouth, Zhong Qianqian shot me a jealous glare. Then, with a pitiful expression, she said, Zhou Jichuan, is it because of my sister that you refuse to accept me, that you won't accept my love? I quickly waved my hands in protest from the side. What's the matter? You can't get a man's love, so you're blaming me for it. You clearly knew he had a fiancé, yet you made your crush known to everyone. What's the matter? Is this something that can be inherited? I mercilessly exposed everything about her. Zhou Jichuan looked at Zhong Qianqian and shook his head in disbelief. Despite Zhou Jichuan rejecting her love countless times, Zhong Qianqian clung to him like a stubborn plaster, refusing to let go. Upon hearing my accusation, Zhong Qianqian's eyes reddened. When my father first brought me home, everyone in your wealthy circle looked down on me. She glared at me with indignation. Is it my fault for being an illegitimate child? Why are you all gossiping about me behind my back? Only Zhou Jichuan was willing to look at me properly back then. He was a ray of light in my life. Her eyes sparkled as she looked at Zhou Jichuan, as if he were a rare treasure in her life. The barrage of comments went wild at this moment. The female lead has already made her feelings so clear. What's up with this supporting male character? After taking the initiative this time, Qianqian will definitely slowly let go of him. It's fine, take it step by step. Zhou Jichuan couldn't help but take a few steps closer in my direction. She secretly grabbed my hand. The day Zhong Qianqian was brought back happened to be my birthday. On that day, my father openly introduced Zhong Qianqian to everyone at the party. Qianqian is also my daughter. From now on, she will enjoy the same treatment as Zhong Xingran. Some of the people present had come out of respect for Zhou Jichuan. While my father was away, some took the opportunity to comfort me, whose eyes were red and swollen. while also gossiping about Zhong Qianqian. Your father really is, still going strong in his old age. Her mother managed to raise Zhong Qianqian right under your noses. She's a tough one, be careful she doesn't do the same. The top priority is to get the old man's money. Let me tell you, everyone present was afraid that a secret child might inexplicably appear in their own family. They all instinctively kept a bit more distance from Zhong Qianqian. Soon, the area around Zhong Qianqian became a complete vacuum zone. She stood there, her eyes slightly reddened, looking utterly at a loss. Stop making such a racket, don't ruin Ranran's birthday party. Zhou Jichuan, who had gone to fetch my gift, dispersed the onlookers. My birthday party wasn't ruined after all, it was back on track. It was because of your appearance that I was no longer ridiculed. Zhong Qianqian's voice carried a hint of bitterness. From then on, Zhou Jichuan became her only salvation. She even went so far as to beg her father to get her a job at the Zhou Group, became Zhou Jichuan's assistant. My words are very clear. I just don't want to disturb Ranran's birthday party. Zhou Jichuan frowned impatiently. He remained completely unmoved by her words. Don't you think that what you call love is causing trouble for others? This isn't affection. It's purely a form of moral coercion, and it's truly terrifying. My hand clasped with Zhou Jichuan's greatly agitated Zhong Qianqian. She covered her eyes and ran out. Those bullet comments also flickered and rushed out along with it. Am I the only one who thinks the female lead is really not self-respecting? A questioning voice appeared among the bullet comments, but it was quickly suppressed. What do you know? We're here for the satisfaction of seeing the scumbag's final regret and bankruptcy. It's fine. After today, the female lead's heart will be completely dead. We are speechless. Faced with such a love-obsessed Zhong Qianqian, Zhou Jichuan and I decided, we're going to work overtime, and we're going to work overtime until we drop. The next day, both Zhou Jichuan and I decided to get up early and head to the office. Although we still haven't found the male lead's name from the bullet comments, based on the disclosed information, this guy is either rich or powerful, and he could bankrupt Zhou Jichuan and me in a matter of minutes. I never expected to run into Zhong Qianqian again at this moment. She was meticulously wiping Zhou Jichuan's desk. Her movements were so careful, as if she were caressing Zhou Jichuan himself, and at that very moment, Zhou Jichuan felt a shiver run down his spine. Do you need to come to my office half an hour early just to wipe the desk? Every time I come to work, she's already in my office. Is her efficiency really that low? Zhou Jichuan was puzzled. Zhou Jichuan was confused. I had already become so familiar with the routine that I tilted my head 45 degrees to gaze at the sky. Perhaps this is what it means to be the female lead in a tragic romance novel. Zhou Jichuan was utterly astonished. Even though your father is a scoundrel, he did send her to the best schools, right? Wouldn't it be better to spend that time improving herself? What's the point of constantly revolving around a man who doesn't love her? It was as if the barrage of comments had heard Zhou Jichuan's doubts. Just when Zhou Jichuan had grown most accustomed to Qianqian, she would turn and leave. It sounds so satisfying. This is simply the best way to get back at a man. In her final 30 days, Qianqian left an indelible mark on Zhou Jichuan's side, only to leave the day before his engagement. Just thinking about how Zhou Jichuan will go crazy afterward is hilarious. Soon, in just 29 more days, Qianqian will be gone. Zhong Qianqian saw the sight of me and Zhou Jichuan appearing hand in hand, hiding a bottle behind her back. She left with reddened eyes. Bullet comment. This is the scent Zhou Jichuan searched for 3 years later, but unfortunately only Qianqian knew the formula. Zhou Jichuan placed a cup of coffee by my hand, joining me in a desperate wail. What made her think that after 3 years of my indifference towards her, her departure would leave me pining, missing her, and then abandoning my fiancé? As for these so-called familiar scents, is it that I can't afford a housekeeper or that I can't secure a supply of beans? I also let out a cry of despair. Ever since that damn barrage appeared, we've been working overtime for hours on end. Zhou Jichuan smiled and booked a table at our most frequented restaurant. Zhou Jichuan and I exclaimed in unison, isn't this way better than the heroine's braised green beans over rice? Zhong Qianqian decided to leave Zhou Jichuan, but her actions weren't dead yet. It was terrifying. After being interrupted by Zhong Qianqian countless times and nearly having an allergic reaction to the perfume she wore, my mind began to feel foggy, and my mental state was concerning. After more than 10 days, I finally decided to see a doctor. Zhou Jichuan, worried about me going alone, chose to accompany me. The good news is, I'm physically fine. The bad news is, we ran into Zhong Qianqian again at the hospital. She was all alone at that moment, her face looking rather pale. She seemed to be holding a medical diagnosis report in her hand. Seeing my hand tightly clasped with Zhou Jichuan, Zhong Qianqian's expression shifted, remembering she is the heroine in the novel. Perhaps she'll bring out the classic trifecta: car accidents, cancer, and incurable diseases. I still asked a question: how are you feeling? Should I call your dad? But she just stared at Zhou Jichuan. Zhou Jichuan, however, was extremely cold toward her, not saying a word. Zhong Qianqian looked at Zhou Jichuan and suddenly burst into tears. It caught the attention of many viewers. So it turns out, even when I'm sick, you never cared about me in the slightest. Do you really not have even a shred of feeling for me? Facing everyone's gaze, Zhou Jichuan spoke calmly. No, rather than wasting all your time on someone who doesn't like you, it's better to spend some time improving yourself. Finally, Zhou Jichuan looked at her seriously. If you get sick, you can seek timely treatment from a doctor. As far as I know, Uncle Zhong's financial situation is quite good. I saw the light in Zhong Qianqian's eyes naturally dim, yet tears continued to swirl in her eyes. After a long moment, she finally pushed me away and chose to slowly run off into the distance. Zhou Jichuan quickly reached out to steady me, almost causing me to stumble. But then he saw the incredibly lively barrage of comments. Ugh, what kind of male lead is this? He doesn't even care that Qianqian is sick. This diagnosis says cancer. Cancer, even though it turned out to be a misdiagnosis in the end, the female lead lost both her health and her love. How pitiful. Don't ever forgive this scumbag in the future, no matter how long he kneels outside. Don't forgive him. Tonight, Qianqian will quickly pack her bags and leave. Zhou Jichuan will abandon the malicious female supporting character at his wedding tomorrow. This contrast is so satisfying. There are also many voices expressing opposition, but all of this is Zhong Qianqian's own wishful thinking. Zhong Xingran hasn't done anything wrong, right? Zhong Qianqian already has a father who loves her dearly, so it's not like she's so desperate for love that she'd hang herself on Zhou Jichuan, a tree that already has an owner. As long as someone speaks up for Zhou Jichuan, the barrage is filled with criticism. Qianqian is about to transform into the ultimate female lead, ready to put that scumbag and the malicious supporting female character in their place. Just you wait and see, Jiang Yi will appear very soon, and Qianqian is about to become the face-slapping, satisfying female lead of a revenge story. Zhou Jichuan and I exchanged a glance. We had both pinpointed the keyword that would lead to our financial ruin. Jiang Yi, that man who has loved Zhong Qianqian silently and anonymously for over a decade, yet never dared to appear before her. At this, both Zhou Jichuan and I wore the same puzzled expression. A stranger suddenly appears in your life, claiming to have loved you for more than 10 years, but there wasn't even a single greeting. No matter how you think about it, it's terrifying, yet Zhong Qianqian believed it just like that. Both the male and female lead seemed to be sick. I let out a sigh of admiration. Zhou Jichuan's eyes, however, sparkled with excitement. Tomorrow is our engagement, and the annoying person is gone. It's truly a double blessing. Zhong Qianqian left quietly without a sound. What infuriates me the most is that old fool, my dad. Back then, he made a grand show of introducing Zhong Qianqian to everyone. He just wanted to prove a man's charm, keeping the red flag flying at home while flaunting colorful banners outside. A bastard daughter can still excel and bring him honor. But he never expected, Zhong Qianqian's arrival turned his life into a complete mess. Even if you drink it while it's hot, you can't swallow it. Everyone knows, the illegitimate daughter of the Zhong family is an absolute romantic. She even harbors a secret crush on her own brother-in-law. Her brother-in-law does not accept her affections. Now he's playing the disappearing game. He became the talk of the town over tea and dinner, thinking of creating another alt account. Already reached the age where one's strength fails to match one's ambition, he had no choice but to redirect his attention back to me. I rightfully claimed the largest share of the Zhong group. As for Zhong Qianqian, she can come back and live on nothing but the northwest wind. As for Zhou Jichuan's side, ever since the interference of Zhong Qianqian was no longer present, the investment projects have been flourishing one after another. Ran, guess where Zhong Qianqian has gone? It was a rare weekend, and Zhou Jichuan and I were finally able to relax. I finally remembered Zhong Qianqian, who had been gone for almost 3 months. Oh, what brings our tragic romance heroine here? A flicker of interest flashed in my eyes. She suddenly appeared by my side 3 years ago. I thought she was a very formidable rival, trying to snatch the old man's house. The old man's money, the old man's car, but all she did was nothing more than cooking for Zhou Jichuan, Hospital Edition, spraying perfume on Zhou Jichuan's desk, watching Zhou Jichuan cry silently, accidentally messing up several collaborations. Men fall silent upon hearing this, women shed tears upon hearing this. Zhou Jichuan, an extra story, Ran's father actually had an illegitimate daughter outside. This news has truly shocked me. I arrived at her birthday party, holding a gift for her. I was there to back her up. What the Zhong family couldn't provide, I never expected. That night, however, I had a nightmare. I dreamed that ever since the girl named Zhong Qianqian appeared, my behavior patterns began to slowly change. Even though in the dream, I still loved Ran as always. Yet, I couldn't help but feel my heart leaning towards Zhong Qianqian. When Zhong Qianqian left me, the little things she did for me, after she left, they involuntarily imprinted themselves in my mind. On the day of my engagement, I resolutely chose to flee the wedding. I stood beneath Zhong Qianqian's building night after night, begging her to look back at me one more time, but a powerful man appeared by Zhong Qianqian's side. Because of this, Ran and I went bankrupt. Ran, having endured enough bullying, died. I, awakened from a nightmare, was speechless. I am absolutely certain, without a shadow of a doubt, that I do not like Zhong Qianqian. Nor would I suddenly start liking or missing someone I dislike after they've left, let alone do something so pathetic and insane. Ever since that day, I began to utilize the foresight from my dreams to gradually develop and expand my own enterprise. Watching Ran working overtime beside me, I became even more certain of my feelings. That crazy crematorium lunatic is not me. Who cares about someone you don't even care about doing so-called countdown literature? Until that day, Ran told me. She could see the barrage of comments floating above Zhong Qianqian's head. It turns out all the strange things that have been happening to me are only because Zhong Qianqian is the female lead of a tragic novel, and she herself possesses no abilities whatsoever. This time, Ran and I couldn't help but hold hands. Fortunately, we both walked out of our predetermined fates. Perhaps it was because Zhou Jichuan didn't abandon me that day. Zhong Qianqian and Zhou Jichuan haven't been able to see each other at all these days. Even without Zhong Qianqian, those bullet comments would still appear before us. Every time Zhou Jichuan gets up early for work, bullet comment, humph, without our Qianqian wiping your desk for you, do you really think you can still get any work done? Has the scumbag had any regrets? The way Qianqian wipes things is so different from how the cleaning ant does it. Zhou Jichuan thoughtfully brought me the materials I needed for work. It's hilarious. When you're busy, you don't even have the mood to care what perfume is sprayed in the office. I handed Zhou Jichuan a cup of freshly brewed coffee. When Zhou Jichuan took it, the bullet comments were also going wild. The coffee Qianqian used to make was full of love, but this one is just an instant product. Zhou Jichuan speechless. Zhou Jichuan and I could only work while holding back our laughter. Just waiting for you to remember our Qianqian bit by bit. When Zhou Jichuan took me to socialize, those bullet comments started scrolling. The most effective hangover soup in the whole world is only made by our Qianqian, but this scumbag has never had a single sip. It's his loss. Let him wait for the splitting headache. Facing those who came up to toast, Zhou Jichuan declined them all. My fiancé is very strict and doesn't allow me to drink. The mention of fiancé greatly stirred up the barrage of comments. They began to go wild and express their dissatisfaction. What? This scumbag doesn't show a hint of remorse at all. Shouldn't he have dropped his work and his fiancée to come find our Qianqian after she left? It's been almost half a year. I've endured this novel until now just to see the second male lead regret and cry his heart out, haven't I? The barrage was filled with waves of criticism. Yet neither Zhou Jichuan nor I paid it any mind. Without Zhong Qianqian's interference, Zhou Jichuan and I accumulated more and more wealth. We even intercepted the talent that the Jiang Yi group had passed over. I heard that this Jiang Yi, for Zhong Qianqian's sake, dismissed the top candidate who had finally made it through the interview. That position was reserved for Zhong Qianqian, who hadn't worked for 3 years, despite all the opposition. Zhou Jichuan and I were looking at the candidate's information in the office. My eyes lit up instantly, although it felt a bit unethical, but it's a relief that our competitors are all fools like Jiang Yi, who are obsessed with romance. Once again encountering Zhong Qianqian was at a cocktail party. This time, 3 years had passed since her remarkable countdown departure. Over these 3 years, Zhong Qianqian had undergone a dramatic transformation. From her initial timidity and submissiveness to the dazzling opulence she now exudes, all of this is thanks to the male lead, Jiang Yi. Zhong Qianqian also saw us and began walking toward us, yet she didn't see any trace of disappointment on my face or Zhou Jichuan's. She raised her hand, showing off the massive pigeon egg-sized ring on her finger. Zhou Jichuan. It wasn't until I met Jiang Yi that I realized one must love oneself before loving another. You don't deserve my love. The infatuation she once held for Zhou Jichuan 3 years ago was nowhere to be found in her eyes now. It was as if she were performing a perfect act of self-indulgent sentimentality. Everyone present was baffled by this inexplicable speech and gathered around. Qianqian, what are you saying to these irrelevant people? A gentle voice made its way through the crowd toward Zhong Qianqian. Judging by his attire, he seemed even more extravagantly dressed than Zhou Jichuan. As if he had come solely to back Zhong Qianqian up. Here comes the male and female leads of the novel, Jiang Yi. Zhong Qianqian gave us a cold glance, then turned and ran into Jiang Yi's arms like a little bird. The person Mr. Zhou didn't cherish before now belongs to me. Jiang Yi uttered a casual, domineering CEO-like tone, and the two of us were just about to throw up. Ha ha ha, this is the kind of chaotic drama I love to watch. I absolutely adore this kind of scene. Jiang Yi is fiercely protecting his wife. You can tell Qianqian is being well taken care of by him. Next up is the moment of reckoning. Don't let this scumbag and the malicious female supporting character get away with it. I endured the female lead's earlier spinelessness just to wait for this moment. Here it comes, again. These male and female leads and bullet comments are seriously messed up. Zhou Jichuan and I looked at Jiang Yi with equally messed up expressions. Chuan is my fiancé. He certainly can't cherish another woman. But as for President Jiang, you should cherish your current financial fortune. I gave Jiang Yi a sympathetic glance. With Zhong Qianqian as such a formidable weapon, right now is the moment he is wealthiest. From now on, it's hard to say. Zhou Jichuan's expression softened, and he offered Jiang Yi a genuinely sincere smile. Miss Zhong Qianqian and I have nothing going on. On the contrary, I should thank President Jiang for sending such a high-quality talent my way. She has already achieved quite a lot for the Jiang group. Jiang Yi's expression changed upon hearing those words. Zhou Jichuan had recently become increasingly busy. Sometimes he didn't even have time to eat. I began to understand that all of this was due to Jiang Yi's quiet efforts behind the scenes, wanting to avenge his beloved while also taking over our company, just getting started. Zhou Jichuan and I are indeed facing a tough challenge. As the male lead in the novel, his company is larger than the combined scale of both the Zhou and Zhong families. Since I can't confront him head-on, I started resorting to some underhanded methods. Since both Zhou Jichuan and I are just supporting characters, nothing is more effective than letting the female lead mess with the male lead. I started frequently updating my daily life with Zhou Jichuan using my alternate account. Years of being together have allowed me to instantly construct sweet moments between Zhou Jichuan and me at any time, whether it's eating or working, or him accompanying me shopping, giving me jewelry. I could write a 300-word essay. Then, satisfied, I clicked send. This alternate account was once used to record the trivialities of daily life. Some of the entries were about Zhou Jichuan. Somehow, the algorithm pushed it to Zhong Qianqian. She had written about it in her countdown diary. Silently watching me and Zhou Jichuan being happy together for 3 years, the thought sends a chill down my spine. That account was never updated again. Now, it's time to put it to use. I've crafted Zhou Jichuan into the image of a devoted man who grants my every wish. Then, looking at the new view count, I began to feel a faint sense of anticipation. Sure enough, a few days later, the actions targeting our two companies began to weaken. I wrote in my post, on the 15th, I told Mr. Zhou that no women were allowed in the office. He agreed to my request, and sure enough, all the girls in the office were transferred away. So happy, loving him every day. Zhong Qianqian came to the company under the pretense of catching up with me, yet she found not only Zhou Jichuan's office, but the entire company devoid of any women. I watched her lonely, fleeing figure. I had no doubt she intended to have a fierce argument with Jiang Yi. After all, Zhong Qianqian had never worked a normal shift, How could she know that International Women's Day was a statutory holiday for girls, with a half-day off in the afternoon? Just as I thought. Our HR feedback. We have received resumes from many people with extensive work experience and strong capabilities. Zhou Jichuan satisfied my curiosity. I asked the interviewee that question. Why did you leave the Jiang group? As far as I know, the salary and working conditions at Jiang's are much better than here. The interviewee hesitated for a long moment. That day, Mrs. Jiang, for some inexplicable reason, insisted that Mr. Jiang fire all the women in the office. Her voice carried a tone of 3 parts shock and 7 parts bewilderment. Mr. Jiang initially refused to agree to her suggestion, believing he had already been completely devoted to Miss Zhong Qianqian, even though Mr. Jiang spent many years abroad. There were never any other women by his side. Perhaps it's a case of comparing people and feeling utterly outdone. Once upon a time, Zhong Qianqian fell for Zhou Jichuan, and aside from the debt of gratitude for saving her life, there was likely an element of competing with me involved. Nowadays, she has won the favor of Jiang Yi, yet she continues to compete with me in subtle, underhanded ways. Seeing Zhou Jichuan clear away the fluttering admirers around me, thinking of the outstanding Jiang Yi, surrounded by so many even more exceptional female colleagues, a sense of resentment and unwillingness inevitably welled up in her heart. Arguing with Jiang Yi was truly within my expectations. Zhou Jichuan and I had originally intended to keep Jiang Yi occupied for a few days, get him to shift his focus away from the plans targeting our 2 families. Who would have thought that Zhong Qianqian would turn out to be such a massive weapon? Not only did she have a huge argument with Jiang Yi in front of all the employees, she even made Jiang Yi fire the young female employees in the office. Everything Zhou Jichuan can do for Zhong Xingran, why can't you do it? Jiang Yi, I thought you loved me, but I never expected your love for me to be so shallow. Hearing the scene described by others, Zhou Jichuan and I both ended up working an extra hour of overtime, as if by unspoken agreement. Thank goodness I didn't do anything to her back then, or I'd be the one in a real mess now. Zhou Jichuan let out a sigh. Thank goodness it's you who stayed by my side. Those employees who were fired by Jiang Yi, the Zhou and Zhong groups hired them without hesitation, even offering them higher salaries than the Jiang group. These are rare talents in the industry. Now, they all belong to us now, with the addition of this batch of employees. We became even more adept in the business war against Jiang Yi. In contrast, on Jiang Yi's side, because of a few words in my post, he had to deal with Zhong Qianqian's unreasonable demands, and he had to enter the domestic market to compete with me and Zhou Jichuan. It was nothing short of miserable. Every time Jiang Yi attends a banquet, he is always accompanied by Zhong Qianqian, who understands nothing, even after going through so many things. Zhong Qianqian remains the naive and clueless sweet girl she always was. If we speak a little louder during our discussions, she thinks I'm gossiping about her with others. Jiang Yi always had to clean up the mess. Long time no see, President Jiang. How did you end up in such a sorry state? Zhou Jichuan and I went all out right in front of him, and when those long-lost bullet comments appeared once again, it was above Jiang Yi's head. Woo-woo, this is the sweet drama we love to watch. No matter what Qianqian does now, she has Jiang Yi backing her up. It's really nice. It's a pity that the ending of this novel stops at the moment when Jiang Yi and Qianqian happily get married. Jiang Yi seemed to sense something and glanced back, but he saw nothing. Zhou Jichuan and I had just secured another project and were on our way to celebrate. We ran into Jiang Yi, who was unshaven and disheveled. He hurriedly stopped the 2 of us. After we settled into the cafe, he sneakily glanced outside again. You 2 can actually see the bullet comments too, right? That wasn't a question, it was a statement. Whatever methods you have, please help me first. I really can't stand Zhong Qianqian anymore. Jiang Yi's face was filled with agony. As the male lead in the novel, Jiang Yi's life had always been smooth sailing, but ever since he encountered Zhong Qianqian one day, his life began to change. That day, Jiang Yi was feeling down on the rooftop alone because he didn't do well on his exams. Zhong Qianqian suddenly appeared and gave him a piece of candy. From that day on, my life began to change. Jiang Yi's voice began to tremble with pain. A voice kept echoing in Jiang Yi's mind. She is your future white moonlight. No other woman is allowed by your side. Before the age of 18, Jiang Yi's life was consumed solely by relentless studying. College began with entrepreneurship, but occasionally, He also wanted to go a little crazy and fall in love. Yet every time this thought arose in his mind, a voice would always say, Zhong Qianqian is your true love, and you should remain chaste for her. Thanks to that voice, even though he had only met Zhong Qianqian once or twice as a child, Jiang Yi's impression of her was nothing short of profound. Guess what happened next? Jiang Yi took a frustrated sip of his beer. What happened after that? I very considerately asked the question. I went to investigate Zhong Qianqian's activities over the years and found that she didn't do well academically in school. All she knew was to act spoiled with her father, never asking for money or status. He glanced at Zhou Jichuan with frustration. Later, even after being taken back to the Zhong family, she didn't pursue money or power, just followed Zhou Jichuan around like a lovesick puppy. Just thinking about having to go against both your families for someone like that in the future makes me feel like my whole world is collapsing. After 3 rounds of drinks, now she wants me to prove to her every single day that I love her. I've had enough of this kind of life. More than enough. There's absolutely no need for conflict between our families. Burp. Zhou Jichuan and I exchanged a glance at the same time. They all thought of that crucial barrage comment. It's a pity that this novel ends right at the moment Jiang Yi and Qianqian happily get married. The grand finale is Zhong Qianqian and Jiang Yi happily getting married and being together. As for their married life, who knows? Zhou Jichuan and I spoke in unison. Go get married. Marry without definition. Once you're married, you'll be free. Zhong Qianqian and Jiang Yi's wedding. She invited everyone like a peacock spreading its tail, including me and Zhou Jichuan, the pair of unlucky souls. In the past, I met the wrong person, but now, I've met the right one. The subtly targeted Zhou Jichuan speechless. That day, Zhong Qianqian was as proud as a peacock spreading its tail, but not long after, news broke that Jiang Yi had proposed a divorce to Zhong Qianqian. This time, after the countdown literature reached its grand finale, no one would ever come to protect the heroine's happiness again. She was divorced as a matter of course. She even tried to act proud and refuse the property Jiang Yi offered. As for this, the 3 of us concluded, love can't fill your stomach. Jiang Yi secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Without Zhong Qianqian's interference, everyone's life returned to normal. Jiang Yi began his days of steady, uneventful work. Zhou Jichuan and I set our wedding date. As for Zhong Qianqian, no matter how much countdown literature she posts online, yet no one cared about her in the slightest anymore. As soon as she left, the whole world rushed to kiss her. It was nothing more than a beautiful dream she had conjured up in her imagination. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. Woman, you have successfully caught my attention. A deep, magnetic voice echoed through the VIP consultation room, carrying a tone of 3 parts mockery, 3 parts indifference, and 4 parts nonchalance. And I, Su Xiaoma, the most outstanding nurse at the city proctology hospital, stood there wearing gloves, pointing expressionlessly at the examination table. Mr. Lu, please remove your pants, lie on your left side, and bring your knees as close to your chest as possible. The air froze solid. Lu Yan, the man who held the global economy in his grasp, whose name alone could make the New York stock market tremble 3 times over, stood rigidly in place. His meticulously sculpted jawline clenched tight. His personal assistant and bodyguards behind him all lowered their heads, pretending to be mushrooms. Do you have any idea who I am? He tried to kill me with his glare, but unfortunately, I was immune to that kind of look. My department head's stare when chasing me for reports was far more ferocious. I know, Lu Yan, 28 years old. Acute episode of mixed hemorrhoids with thrombosis, chief complaint of anal fullness and pain for 3 days. Accompanied by blood and stool, I recited the medical record fluently, pointing at the clock on the wall. Please hurry up. There are over a dozen patients waiting. Lu Yan's face turned from the bronze tan of a domineering CEO to the color of liver. He probably never expected that the first time in his life a woman would ignore him would be on the examination table in the proctology department. In the end, torn between excruciating pain and the dignity of a domineering CEO, he shamefully chose the former. As he awkwardly assumed the standard position, I heard the sound of his molars cracking. Relax, I said matter-of-factly. Woman, you'd better. His threat was cut short, turning into a suppressed cry of pain. Once the examination was complete, I removed my gloves and tossed them precisely into the medical waste bin. The diagnosis is clear. Surgery is needed immediately. Go and complete the admission procedures now. And fast from food and water for 6 hours before the operation. Lu Yan slowly straightened his six-figure suit pants, trying to regain his composure. Surgery, fine, but you have to be the one performing it, I said. I'm a nurse, he said. I don't care about that. You have to be responsible for all my nursing care, the 24-hour, close contact kind. I picked up the phone. Hello, is this the psychiatry department? Could you come for a consultation, please? Lu Yan was speechless, in the end. Lu Yan checked into the most luxurious single room in our hospital. Rumor has it his assistant nearly tried to remodel the ward into a 5-star presidential suite, but our hospital director firmly refused, citing fire safety violations. As the nurse he personally appointed, I was in charge of his preoperative preparations. What is this? He stared at the enema bag in my hand as if facing a formidable enemy. An afternoon tea, prepared just for you, I replied with a polite smile. For cleansing the bowels, please enjoy. His expression looked as though he were about to be poisoned. The process, well, it was quite brutal. When the domineering CEO clutched his stomach and rushed toward the bathroom, he still managed to throw out a fierce threat. Woman, you just wait. I lowered my head to record. Lu Yan, severe reaction to enema, recommend increasing fiber intake in postoperative diet. The surgery went smoothly. It was performed by our department head, whose hands were steady, precise, and ruthless. After the anesthesia wore off, Lu Yan woke up, seeing me by his hospital bed. A flicker of vulnerability flashed in his eyes, but it was quickly covered up by his domineering CEO mask. Hurt, he forced the word out through gritted teeth, as if admitting to pain were a profound disgrace. Normal, I handed him a pain pump. Use it as needed. He didn't take it. Instead, he grabbed my wrist, though weakly. Due to his frailty, don't go, stay here with me. I glanced at my watch. Mr. Lu, my shift is over. I'll pay you 10 times your salary. No, 100 times. Sorry, I don't sell myself. I pulled my hand back, and according to the labor law, 10 million, he interrupted. Accompany me for a week. I silently took out my phone and opened the calculator. Based on your pain score and nursing level, first level care is 200 per day, 1400 for a week. The VIP ward suite fee is extra. We accept Alipay, WeChat, or card payments. Lu Yan's expression looked as if he had swallowed a fly. He was probably used to throwing money at people and never expected someone to actually settle accounts with him, and at such a low price. You really are different from those flashy, pretentious types. He suddenly curled his lips into a sly, charming smile, playing hard to get. I sighed and pressed the call button. Doctor, could you please check on the patient in bed 3? The anesthesia might not have worn off yet. He seems to be hallucinating. Lu Yan's hospital life was rich and colorful. On the first day, he tried to have his assistant bring documents to the ward, conducting a video conference to command Wall Street. However, due to the effects of the pain pump, he fell asleep halfway through, and his snoring echoed throughout the entire meeting room. On the second day, his mother, dressed in a Chanel suit, rushed over, grabbed my hand, and tearfully pleaded. He's my only son, even though he's 28 and still believes in the land of light. He's a good boy, you must save him, I said. Auntie, don't worry, hemorrhoids generally aren't life-threatening. On the third day, his childhood sweetheart, the white moonlight lady, arrived, dressed in a pure white dress and holding a large bouquet of white chrysanthemums. Brother Yan, she said with teary eyes, how could you get such a disease? It's so inelegant. Lu Yan's face turned ashen. I reminded her, Miss Bai, chrysanthemums are for visiting graves. Miss White Moonlight glared at me with tear-filled eyes, saying, what do you know? This is a rare variety I had airlifted from France. Brother Yan, look at this caregiver. She's being mean to me, Lu Yan said. She is my nurse, I said, and I am a formally employed, in-system nurse, not a caregiver. Miss White Moonlight was speechless. On the fourth day, Lu Yan's arch-rival, another domineering CEO, Qin Feng, arrived. Carrying a fruit basket, each apple inside was carved with the words, wishing you a speedy recovery. Not really. Well, President Lu, I heard your back door was breached. Qin Feng laughed arrogantly. Lu Yan grabbed one of the carved apples, intending to throw it, but the movement tugged at his wound. making him gasp in pain. I appeared just in time and confiscated the fruit basket. No fighting in the ward. Also, President Liu, it's time for your dressing change. Qin Feng gloated with schadenfreude. Changing the dressing, need my help. My technique is excellent. Lu Yan gritted his teeth. Get lost. I looked at Qin Feng and said, Mr. Qin, if you're very eager to experience it, our hospital is currently recruiting volunteers who can provide some basic assistance to postoperative patients. The smile on Qin Feng's face froze, and he quickly found an excuse to slip away. Lu Yan looked at me with a complicated expression. You certainly know how to get me out of a tight spot. I took out the dressing change tray. Just doing my job. Please lie on your stomach and lift your hips, Lu Yan said. Woman, could you speak a bit more elegantly? I said, understood. Please assume the knee-chest position to fully expose the surgical field. Lu Yan was speechless. He seemed even angrier. Changing the dressing was Lu Yan's daily moment of social death. He had to lie prone, exposing his noble buttocks. And let me handle the procedure. At first, he resisted fiercely, trying to maintain the last shred of a domineering CEO's dignity. I won't change it, all right, I noted. Lu Yan refuses to change the dressing, increasing the risk of wound infection, which may require a second surgery. He remained silent for 3 seconds, then reluctantly lay down in humiliation. Throughout the process, he would make small talk, trying to distract himself. Woman, what's your name? Su Xiama, Xiama. He murmured softly, as if savoring some rare delicacy. A lovely name. Do you know why I sought you out? Because my nursing skills are the best in the entire hospital. No, his tone suddenly turned domineering. Because you're the first woman who dared to ignore me. You've successfully caught my attention. I pressed down a bit harder with the iodine-soaked cotton swab. He winced in pain, sucking in a sharp breath. Sorry, I said without a hint of sincerity. According to research, conversation can help distract patients from the pain. Seems it's not working very well. Lu Yan speechless. After changing the dressing, he lay on the bed and muttered gloomily, when I get better, I'll buy you a bag. Thank you, but we have regulations against accepting valuable gifts. Then I'll buy a building. I began to consider whether I should actually request a psychiatric consultation. On the 5th day, he was doing much better and started acting up. He insisted that I read him the financial newspaper. As I was reading, he suddenly interrupted me and said, your voice sounds very pleasant when you read the newspaper. I said, thank you, much better than those delicate, coquettish women. I said, oh, woman, do you have a boyfriend, Mr. Liu? This is private. Then that means there isn't any, he asserted confidently. Good, from now on, you do. I closed the newspaper. Mr. Liu, it's time for your physical therapy, today. We'll use the heat lamp to irradiate the wound and promote healing. He became alert. Heat lamp, where will it be applied? I smiled. Of course, it's a localized exposure. Please lie down again and lift your hips. Lu Yan's expression looked as if he were marching to his death. 2 major events occurred just as Lu Yan was about to be discharged from the hospital. The first was that his beloved, White Moonlight, came to stir up trouble again. This time, she barged into the office and threw a check at me. Here's 5 million, leave Brother Yen. I looked at the zeros on the check and felt a bit tempted, but I still pushed it back. Miss Bai, our hospital has rules. We can't accept red envelopes. This isn't a red envelope. It's a breakup fee, Mr. Liu and I have never been together, so how can there be a breakup? She didn't believe it and began her performance. You're just a lowly nurse. How dare you win Brother Yan's favor? Do you know how much I've sacrificed for him? I even went so far as to, I calmly replied, even went so far as to study abroad for 5 years without visiting him once, and broke up with 3 boyfriends. The White Moonlight lady froze. How do you know that? I pointed outside. Mr. Liu was bored in the hospital and played the PowerPoint of your love story on loop over a dozen times in his room. Miss White Moonlight's face flushed, then paled, then turned ashen. In the end, she ran off crying, her high heels clicking against the floor. The second incident was even more serious. Lu Yan's arch-rival, Qin Feng, somehow got hold of a photo of Lu Yan wearing a hospital gown, bent over with his butt in the air for a heat lamp therapy session, and posted it in their business partners group chat. Title, warmly celebrating the Liu group's back door being wide open. This photo spread like wildfire, nearly triggering an earthquake in the Liu group's stock price. Upon learning of it, Lu Yan was so furious he nearly tore open his wound. With a grim expression, he made calls to mobilize all available resources to suppress the news and investigate the mole. The entire ward was shrouded in a low-pressure atmosphere. As I was changing his dressing, he suddenly asked, "Do you also think I'm ridiculous?" Without looking up, I replied, "No, you're not. No illness is ridiculous." He fell silent for a moment before saying, "But they're all laughing at me. That's because they're bored and ignorant." I deftly applied the dressing. Anal and intestinal diseases are very common, according to incomplete statistics. The incidence rate among office workers is as high as, "Stop reciting data," he interrupted. Though his tone softened a bit, "You really don't find this embarrassing?" I finally looked at him. "Mr. Lu, in my eyes, you are first and foremost a patient. My duty is to help you recover, not to judge which part of your body is sick. The buttocks are no less noble than the heart." Lu Yan looked at me, his eyes flickering, as if something inside him had cracked. After a long while, he whispered softly, "Thank you." Then he quickly buried his face into the pillow, his ears flushed red. Wow. The domineering CEO actually knows how to say thank you and get shy. It seems this illness might have actually taught him a thing or two. The day Lu Yan was discharged from the hospital was a grand spectacle. A dozen luxury cars lined up at the hospital entrance, with reporters and their cameras swarming around. Anyone unaware might have thought a top-tier celebrity was being released. He changed into a custom-tailored suit, slicked his hair back into a CEO-style pompadour, and his eyes regained their usual sharpness. But before getting into the car, he dismissed his entourage and walked up to me. "Woman," he began, with that familiar opening line, but his tone seemed different this time. "I'm leaving." I nodded. "The discharge procedures are all settled. I've sent the follow-up instructions to your assistant. Remember to come back for regular checkups." He stared at me, as if waiting for something. Seeing that I had no particular reaction, he frowned. "Don't you have anything to say to me?" I thought for a moment and said, "I wish you good health, goodbye." He was clearly unsatisfied with that answer. Suddenly, he took a step forward and lowered his voice. "Once I've sorted out the company matters, I'll come back for you." I took a step back, maintaining a safe distance. "Mr. Lu, please make an appointment in advance for your follow-up. You can do it through our hospital's official account." The corner of his mouth twitched, finally. As if he had made up his mind about something, he pulled out from his pocket a commendation banner. Swish, a red velvet banner unfurled, bearing several flamboyant, sweeping characters, "Skilled hands and compassionate heart to remove hemorrhoids, a debt of gratitude as deep as a second birth." Signed, Lu Yan, respectfully on behalf of his buttocks. I am speechless, bodyguard speechless, onlookers speechless. Click, click. The reporters snapped photos frantically. The next day, hashtags like hashtag Lu Yan banner hashtag Lu Yan but hashtag, and hashtag Lu Group backdoor hashtag stubbornly fought their way onto the trending list, impossible to suppress. It said that after Lu Yan saw the trending topic, he smashed up his office, but strangely, he didn't have the hot search taken down. As for my life, it didn't change much because of this little episode. I was still busy every day, dealing with all kinds of behinds. Only occasionally would I see Lu Yan in the financial news. He seemed less greasy now, with a bit less carelessness in his eyes and a bit more steadiness. There was even a time when he publicly stated at a health forum, "We need to pay attention to the anorectal health of working professionals." The colleagues laughed themselves silly. I shook my head and continued writing my nursing notes, until one day, on my way home from work, a familiar Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up in front of me. The car window rolled down, revealing Lu Yan. He looked a bit nervous, clutching a document in his hand. "Woman," he began, his voice still low but lacking that deliberate magnetism, "I had my lawyer draft this." My heart sank. Here it comes, the classic domineering CEO move. A check, a contract, forced affection. I took a deep breath, ready to recite the labor law once more. Instead, he handed over the documents, his tone unusually serious. "This is a list of all my assets, including shares, properties, funds, and my medical report, and also a prenuptial agreement." I froze. He looked at me, his eyes filled with utmost sincerity, even carrying a hint of desperation. "I'm not demanding this from you. I'm applying for a chance for you to officially take charge of me and my ass." The setting sun cast its light on his face, and on that impossibly handsome face, there was actually a hint of a blush. I looked at him, then at the thick asset list, before finally letting my gaze settle back on his nervous face. After a long while, I slowly spoke, Mr. Liu, You've come to the wrong department. I suggest you turn left when you go out and visit the neurology department next door. With that, I hopped onto my little electric scooter and rode off in style. In the rearview mirror, the once dominant CEO, holding all his assets and the prenuptial agreement, stood there in a daze amid the car exhaust, questioning his life. After Lu Yan's disarray in the car exhaust, my life briefly returned to peace, but soon I realized I had underestimated this CEO's perseverance. He no longer appeared directly at the hospital, perhaps afraid I'd make him go to the neurology department again, and instead adopted a more roundabout approach. First, all the equipment in our department was replaced overnight, from examination tables to hemostats, all top-of-the-line German imports, each engraved with a small LY. The department head was overjoyed, patting my shoulder and saying, Xiao Su, you've brought a god of wealth to our department. Then, I started receiving anonymous food deliveries every day. On the first day, it was a Michelin 3-star post-hemorrhoid surgery nutritional meal. On the second day, a bouquet of flowers made from various gut-friendly bacteria snacks. And on the third day, it got even more absurd. A massage chair was delivered, with the slogan, a blessing for the buttocks of the sedentary crowd. My colleagues were in stitches, saying I'd been knocked out by the CEO's proctology-level romance. I couldn't take it anymore and finally dialed the number of Lu Yan's special assistant, Nurse Su. The assistant's voice was filled with trepidation. Mr. Liu is in a meeting right now. May I ask what? Tell Mr. Liu, I said expressionlessly. If he sends anything else to the hospital, I'll post his post-surgery recovery videos online. The harassment stopped. The world is finally quiet. Not a week later, our department admitted a new patient. The patient wore sunglasses and a mask, bundled up tightly, and shuffled in awkwardly under the escort of 4 bodyguards. But judging by his distinctive chin and the confident, wind-swept way he walked, I recognized him at a glance. It was Lu Yan's archrival, Qin Feng. He had the same condition as Lu Yan, mixed hemorrhoids, acute flare-up. When registering, he specifically requested my care. Nurse Su, is it? He lay on the examination table, gritting his teeth in pain, yet still managing to maintain his domineering CEO aura. I heard you've got Lu Yan completely under control. Good, I admire you. From now on, you'll be in charge of me exclusively, I said. Mr. Qin, our hospital does not offer private custom services, Qin Feng said. Whatever price Lu Yan can pay, Qin Feng, will double it, no, triple it. I sighed and took out the registration form. Mr. Qin, please fill out this hemorrhoid patient lifestyle and dietary habit questionnaire first. We need to understand the triggers for your condition. The questionnaire was extremely detailed, including but not limited to whether you have been sitting for long periods, putting pressure on the perianal area, whether you have a preference for spicy and stimulating foods, whether you are accustomed to handling work matters while using the restroom, estimating the duration of each restroom visit, and whether you have recently experienced any major events that caused intense emotional fluctuations. Qin Feng's face turned from pale to flushed, then to ashen. Finally, in a fit of anger and embarrassment, he slammed the pen down. Is this a questionnaire or a humiliation form? I calmly replied. This is for research purposes. Please cooperate. Alternatively, you may choose not to fill it out, but that might affect our accurate assessment of your condition. Qin Feng was speechless. He filled out the form with a sense of humiliation, his fingers trembling throughout the process. Just as I was about to begin his examination, he suddenly pressed down on my hand, his eyes carrying a hint of eerie anticipation. Wait, Lu Yan. Was he in this same position back then? I said. All patients are in the standard position. He seemed a bit disappointed and asked again, unwilling to give up. Then did he scream in agony? Did he cry? I said. Mr. Qin, protecting patient privacy is our responsibility. The examination results showed that his condition was slightly more severe than Lu Yan's. Surgery is needed immediately. Upon hearing that surgery was required, Qin Feng's face fell, but he quickly forced himself to appear calm. Surgery is fine, but I have one condition: my entire surgical process must be recorded on video, especially the part with the anesthesia and the most vulnerable moments after the surgery. It has to be in 4K high definition. I was puzzled. Qin Feng snorted triumphantly. When Lu Yan and I negotiate next time, I'll play it on loop in the conference room. Let's see how he can still act so arrogant. I quietly added to the medical record. The patient may exhibit a certain degree of persecutory delusions and competitive anxiety. It is recommended to request a consultation with the clinical psychology department after the surgery. Qin Feng's surgery also went smoothly. The first thing he asked for upon waking up was the video recording. I told him, "I'm sorry, Mr. Qin, but recording in the operating room is strictly prohibited." Moreover, Mr. Lu recovered very quickly at the time, so there is no embarrassing footage to speak of. Qin Feng didn't believe it. Impossible. He's the type who cares so much about saving face. To prove his point, he even tried to get out of bed. I'm going to his ward to check. He must be hiding, but because he moved too abruptly, he nearly tore open his wound, howling in pain as he collapsed back onto the bed. I quickly gave him a painkiller. After the medication took effect, he became a bit sentimental. He started pouring out his troubles to me, saying he and Lu Yan had been competing since childhood, from seeing who could pee farther to comparing whose company had a higher market value, and he had never won, even getting hemorrhoids. I was a week later than him. He pounded the bed in indignation. "Why? I refuse to accept this," I said. "That kind of competition really isn't necessary. You don't understand." Qin Feng's eyes reddened. "This is a matter of dignity between us men." He rambled on for half an hour, recounting everything from fighting over building blocks in kindergarten to losing the last land bidding. Finally, he grabbed my sleeve, his eyes holding a strange glimmer of anticipation. "Nurse Su, help me, as long as you help me beat Lu Yan this once. Name your price." I looked at him. "Mr. Qin, your physical recovery is the most important win right now." Qin Feng was taken aback for a moment, murmuring, "It seems there's some truth to that. But the thought process of a domineering CEO is, after all, rather convoluted." The next day, Lu Yan somehow heard that Qin Feng had also moved in and specifically requested my care, and he immediately couldn't sit still. He didn't come in person, but he sent an assistant to deliver a fruit basket. The fruit basket still had each apple carved with words, this time reading, "Condolences to the opponent's delicate buttocks." Upon seeing it, Qin Feng was so furious he nearly jumped out of bed. He immediately ordered his assistant to buy an even larger fruit basket, with bananas carved with the words, "Thanks for your concern, my buttocks are doing splendidly. Are you envious?" The two assistants met in the narrow hospital corridor, glaring at each other's fruit offerings, the atmosphere tense as drawn swords. The head nurse could no longer tolerate it and kicked both of them out, stipulating that all visiting gifts must be inspected, and any carved fruit, insinuating gifts, or oversized declarations of victory were strictly prohibited from entry. The Anal Canal Championship between the two domineering CEOs has moved from offline to online. They started flooding the comments section under our hospital's official public account. Lu Yan commented, "Thank you to all the medical staff in the anal department, especially Nurse Su for her superb skills and patient care, which have given me a new lease on life." Rose. Qin Feng immediately replied, "Same here. Nurse Su's skills are indeed much better than some people's." Thumbs up. Lu Yan replied to Qin Feng, Imitation is the most clumsy form of flattery." Qin Feng replied to Lu Yan, "Only the weak need to emphasize who came first." The two of them went back and forth, arguing for dozens of comments in the comments section, successfully derailing the tone. Other patients chimed in below. "So, if Nurse Su is in charge, do we get to enjoy the CEO-style choral service? I came here after hearing about it. Do I need to fight for an appointment with Nurse Su? Does this hospital's proctology department come with psychological counseling and business war spectating as a bonus?" The department head looked at the skyrocketing number of followers on the public account and the flood of appointment calls, feeling a mix of emotions. He called me in for a talk. "Xiao Su, these two gentlemen, we have to take good care of them, but we can't let them turn the hospital into a fighting ring." I wholeheartedly agreed. So I went to have separate talks with the two domineering CEOs. I said to Lu Yan, "Mr. Lu, I've received your concern, but frequent interactions with a competitive undertone might disturb other patients and could also make me feel uncomfortable." I said to Qin Feng, "Mr. Qin, Your recovery is progressing well, and you'll be discharged soon. Focusing on your own health is far more valuable than fixating on a competitor's backside. Both of them agreed on the surface, but behind the scenes, the rivalry intensified. They began competing over who could recover faster, who could sit through meetings normally first, and who could walk briskly again sooner. During rounds, Lu Yan would casually ask, "Is Qin Feng able to get out of bed today?" During dressing changes, Qin Feng would pretend to ask offhandedly, "Is Lu Yan still howling in pain over there?" I would always reply, "Sorry, patient privacy is protected." Neither of them could do anything about it. Finally, they actually came up with a trick, competing to see who could earn my professional approval first. Lu Yan had his assistant bring over a pile of management books and insisted on discussing performance improvement and KPI setting for proctology nursing teams with me while I was giving him physical therapy. Qin Feng, on the other hand, started studying the compendium of Materia Medica and discussed the application prospects of traditional Chinese medicine theory in post-proctology surgery recovery with me while I was changing his bandages. I was so annoyed by them that I finally pulled out my ultimate move. I organized a small, anorectal health knowledge competition, with only Lu Yan and Qin Feng as participants. And the prize was a handwritten Anorectal Health Star certificate. The competition questions included Best post-hemorrhoid surgery bowel movement posture, food ranking to promote wound healing, top 10 lifestyle guidelines to avoid recurrence, and so on. The two tycoons were fully prepared, answering the questions with even more seriousness than when signing billion-dollar contracts. In the end, Lu Yan narrowly won by 1 point. He held the thin certificate, his lips curling up uncontrollably, yet he tried hard to feign indifference. Humph, what a boring competition. Qin Feng, on the other hand, was filled with regret, pounding his chest in frustration. Damn it, I shouldn't have chosen C for the last question. Watching these two business tycoons compete over a handwritten certificate, I was once again convinced men remain boys at heart, and even the most domineering CEOs can turn into lovable fools. Just when I thought this farce would end with both of them being discharged from the hospital, an even bigger storm arrived. An unknown well-wisher tipped off the media that two top-tier billionaires had simultaneously checked into the same hospital's proctology department, allegedly for high-end colorectal therapy or secret business negotiations. Reporters swarmed the hospital entrance like sharks drawn to the scent of blood. The hospital director, his head pounding as if struck by a hammer, ordered heightened security and strictly prohibited reporters from entering. But paparazzi are relentless and find their way in everywhere. A journalist disguised as a delivery guy actually managed to sneak into the inpatient department and even made it to the VIP ward area. At that moment, Lu Yan was following my guidance, taking a slow rehabilitation walk in the hallway. His gait was still a bit awkward, but it had improved a lot, not to be outdone. Qin Feng was also walking slowly not far behind him. The two subconsciously started competing again, each trying to walk more steadily than the other. Just then, the journalist disguised as a delivery guy suddenly rushed out, raised his camera, and started snapping away at them like crazy. President Lu, President Qin, may I ask if your simultaneous admission to the proctology department is a coincidence or if there's another hidden story? Rumors suggest that both of you fell ill simultaneously due to excessive stress from competing for a piece of land. Is that true? How do you two view the saying, 9 out of 10 men have hemorrhoids? Does this affect your business image? Camera flashes clicked incessantly, each question more pointed than the last. Lu Yan and Qin Feng clearly hadn't anticipated this scene, both freezing in place with extremely unpleasant expressions. Their bodyguards snapped to attention and immediately stepped forward to block the reporters. The situation descended into chaos for a moment. I happened to be passing by and, seeing this, immediately stepped forward, snatching the camera from the reporter's hands in one swift, decisive motion. This is a hospital. No loud disturbances or photography allowed. Violating patient privacy is illegal, I declared sternly, simultaneously signaling the security guards who had rushed over upon hearing the commotion. The reporter struggled. I'm a journalist. I have the right to know. The patient's hemorrhoids have no obligation to satisfy your right to know, I retorted. While quickly checking the camera and deleting the photos just taken, the reporter was dumbfounded, probably having never encountered such a fierce nurse. Lu Yan and Qin Feng also stared at me in stunned silence. After dealing with the reporter, I turned around and looked at the two shaken-up tycoons. Can you still walk? I asked. They nodded instinctively. Then let's continue with the planned 10 minutes. Moderate activity is beneficial for recovery, I said calmly, as if I had just shooed away a fly. Don't let irrelevant people affect your rehabilitation progress. On that day, surrounded by bodyguards and security personnel, and possibly even hidden cameras in the corners, two tycoons, each worth hundreds of billions, listened to my words and obediently, albeit awkwardly, continued their slow, rehabilitative walk. At that moment, all the business wars, the pride, the competition, everything seemed to be temporarily set aside. All that remained was a shared, unspoken vulnerability, and a nurse who paid no mind to it, concerned only with the recovery of their backsides. After the media storm, the relationship between the two tycoons seemed to have undergone a subtle change. They no longer clashed so fiercely. Occasionally when they met in the hallway, they would even turn their faces away, awkwardly grunting as a form of greeting. Sometimes when I conducted health education sessions, they would both be present, though they still couldn't resist undermining each other. I said, after surgery, it's important to keep your bowel movements regular. Lu Yan said, hear that, that's for you, Qin Feng, eat less hot pot from now on. Qin Feng said, bullshit. Who was it that secretly had their assistant bring in spicy hot pot last time? I said, to avoid prolonged sitting. Qin Feng said, Lu Yan, you hear that, don't make meetings last 8 hours next time. Lu Yan said, still better than someone sitting around playing golf all day. But the tone was no longer as full of gunpowder as before. Instead it was a bit like elementary school kids pecking at each other. The department head watched this scene, stroking his chin as he said to me, Xiao Su, you could say, you've made a contribution to a harmonious society. I said, Director, you're too kind, I'm just a nurse. Finally, the day came for the two of them to be discharged from the hospital. This time, both of them kept a low profile. No luxury car convoy, no reporters. Lu Yan left first. Before he departed, he found me again. This time, he didn't pull out a check or a prenuptial agreement. Instead, he handed me a plainly wrapped box. What is this? I asked warily. It's not anything valuable. He rubbed his nose, his gaze drifting a bit, just a little, token of thanks. Consider it a souvenir. I opened it and found, to my surprise, a hardcover, thick, complete guide to the prevention and care of anorectal diseases. On the title page was his signature and a note, to Nurse Su. Thank you for illuminating my darkest hour. This gift is certainly unique. Thank you. I accepted it. He seemed to let out a sigh of relief, yet hesitated as if wanting to say more. In the end, he only uttered, take care, before turning and walking away. His retreating figure carried a hint of loneliness. Qin Feng was discharged from the hospital in the afternoon. He lingered until the very last moment before finally leaving. He also gave me a box. Inside was a silk banner, but its message was completely different from Lu Yan's. It reads, masterful skills, winning hearts with virtue, the treasure of the town. Specializing in curing all kinds of domineering CEOs who refuse to submit, the signature says, a rescued butt and its owner. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. How about that? More creative than that guy Lu Yan, right? Qin Feng said proudly, very creative. I nodded. Then, he looked at me, his eyes sparkling. In the future, for my annual checkups, can I still come to you? I said. Our hospital's physical examination center is in the building next door. After Qin Feng was discharged from the hospital, my life finally returned completely to normal. Every day was still busy, facing all kinds of patients and their backsides. Occasionally, I would see news about Lu Yan and Qin Feng in financial reports. They still seemed to be competing, but with less hostility. Once, they were even photographed drinking tea in the same tea house. My colleagues still tease me, calling me the designated partner for the CEO's backside. I just laughed it off. Until one day, I received a thick package. Upon opening it, I found a beautifully designed collaboration proposal. The initiators are the Lu Group and the Qin Group, with the collaborative project being the joint investment in establishing a foundation focused on workplace health. The first initiative is the Sedentary Population Anal and Intestinal Healthcare Program, appointing me as the Chief Health Advisor. Attached to the proposal were two handwritten letters. One from Lu Yan and the other from Qin Feng. Lu Yan's letter was as concise as ever. The project is solid, worth pursuing, you should come. Qin Feng's letter, on the other hand, was much livelier. So, What do you think? Isn't this idea absolutely brilliant? It's rare for me and that guy to agree on something. Come on, let's do something big together, for the sake of all humanity's posteriors. I looked at the proposal and the two letters, and smiled. Perhaps, this is the best ending. It's not about the domineering CEO conquering the nurse, nor is it about the nurse taming the domineering CEO. Instead, it's about two men who once only fixated on each other's shortcomings, finally learning to shift their gaze toward broader horizons and finding a healthier way to continue their rivalry. I picked up the pen and signed my name on the consultant contract. All right, for the sake of all humanity's asses. This job, I'll take it. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to